Hi everyone, it's great to be here again. My name is Sam Ajiboye on A Sessional with Sam. Today we are having a great man that I appreciate so much. Checking African narrative with stories and his articles and his news and his activities, trying to bring attention to what great things that Africans are doing. Is my friend Paul Ndiho in the house. He worked with Voice of America. He's basically the host of Tech Africa on African 45 for Voice of America, and he has been doing a great job trying to tell a lot of African story and from away from Africa to the US to be doing great things. That is really amazing, and we want to hear his story and how he's able to stand out in his work and even in America, even to be doing promoting African content and trying to see how African can have the right direction. You are welcome, Paul, to Essential with Sam.
It's a pleasure being on your show, Sam. Thank you so much for having me.
Paul, quick one. Tell us a little bit about you before we go deep into this. You know, Essential with Sam will bring great guys around the world doing amazing things, telling African story and globally. So, I want to know who you are. Who is Paul?
I was born in Uganda. I did part of my earlier education, my undergraduate in Uganda. I moved to United States here in 2000, and I went to grad school here. So since then, I've been either like working or in school. But most importantly, I think I've been, for the last 16 years, I've been at the Voice of America as a video journalist, as a producer, and a host of a weekly segment called Africa Technology on Africa 54.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. One thing I want to ask is that what's your background? Did you study video journalism in school, or it's virtual of your work you begin to do this?
Yes, my background is in broadcaster journalism. I have a degree in mass communication and journalism, and several certifications in broadcaster journalism. I I started out my career in Uganda. I was a young reporter then, covering like everyday today stories. Then I progressed to covering the war in the Congo and South Sudan, and eventually I found my way here in the United States, where I continued that journey that took me to the Voice of America. Before I joined the Voice of America, I worked for one of the premier stations here called the Public Broadcasting Station, PBS, where I started out as an intern.
Speak a little bit louder. Speak a little bit louder. Oh, speak a little bit louder.
Sure. I was saying that you want me to start all over again?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that my first stint in the television industry here in the United States was I started out at a public broadcasting station called PBS, where I was hired as a paid intern. And from there, I worked my way up to the Voice of America, where I have been for the last 16 years as a video journalist, traveling across Africa, interviewing all sorts of people, including presidents, CEOs like you, and everyday people, ordinary people in Africa.
Wow. Wow, that is really amazing. You're amazing because the way you were able to translate and you still get to one of the most prestigious companies to work with in America. A lot of broadcasting companies actually watch out for great outlets to work with, and it's amazing thing for you to have this great transition. Well done. I want to ask you, in all your career, what are the remarkable things you can remember that has contributed to your success?
I think number one, mentorship. I've met a lot of people who gave me their shoulders to climb on, I think those people are very, very instrumental in me becoming successful at what I do. Number two, opportunity. Uh, Voice of America gave me the opportunity really to showcase Africa, to tell stories about Africa and Africans, to profile young people who are making a difference in Africa. And I could not have done this on my own. So, the other thing is that hard work. Some of these things you can't just do it in one day. It takes a long time for you to perfect that skill. So over the years, I've been able to build on what the people who gave me their shoulders to climb on, and using my personal knowledge and expertise to build on that, to see a little bit far. Because it's one thing to be good at what you do, but it's another thing to be exceptional at what you do, and that's the difference. For me, when I'm doing this kind of work, it's not work for me. It's a calling. It's more of a calling. I want to tell African stories. I want to be part of the African narrative. I want to change that negative narrative to focus on the positive stories that are coming out of Africa. And what the Voice of America has given me, it has given me that opportunity really to tell those
Wow,
stories.
that is really, really amazing.
Yes. For example, maybe about 10
Wow.
years ago, I
Wow.
started.
For me, I think the first one is
Go ahead. Hello?
okay. So for me, I think one thing you mentioned that is very remarkable is mentorship, opportunity that your place of work has provided for you. Then secondly is your skill set, the willingness, then your determination and passion for African story. And this is really, really amazing. So I keep telling people that you need to have the right skill set, you need to have mentors, you have the right drive, you need to have the right passion for what you're doing. Because if you don't have passion, you can easily give up along the way. That is really, really amazing. Now, is there any time in your career that you almost want to give up? Maybe you just thought that maybe I'm just not doing the right thing. And is there any time like that? And if there is, what brought you back on track?
Some that happens every single day. We work in a very challenging environment. We work in a very, very competitive environment. Every day, people are out there to take your job. So you have to be the best that you can be. If they send you on assignment, they send you to cover one story, but you don't come back with one story. If you want to stay alive, if you want to stay employed, you come back with 10, 15 stories. You take it upon yourself to do what others don't do, because one, we are competing in a world where we have to jump 3 times higher than everybody else. And I'm talking about being an African. You African Americans, Africans here in the United States, I'm sure you read the news, you see the stories. It's very, very different for us. The society doesn't embrace us uh, as we embrace it. So you have to work harder, you have to jump higher. Everything that you do, you almost have to do it 3 times better than the average person. So what keeps me going is that ability to be able to use the skills that I've learned over the years, to be able to tell the stories, and not just tell the story, but to tell it in a way that is impactful, that it connects with the ordinary person. Let's say if I profile a business or a young person coming up, I'm looking at it from the perspective of me as an African. I don't get opportunity to tell my story. So giving a platform to a young African entrepreneur is great, because that could open up so many doors for them. It could help them expand their businesses. It would take them places they have never been. So I use that to amplify, to give people those voices who would otherwise not have a place to showcase their stuff. So by me
Wow.
adding their voices to our global audience, I think it gives them a leg up. And more importantly, it's also important that as Africans in these institutions or in places where we can use our platforms to showcase Africa, the onus is on us as Africans really to tell a positive story about Africa. I don't want to be associated with a story that is so negative about Africa, yet there are so many good things, great things coming out of Africa. Africa is the next frontier. Everybody talks about that. Look at the tech giants now. They're outsourcing talent from Africa. Those are positive stories. I want to be part of that story.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. I know that you interview a lot of Africans across Africa and every time on your program. What are the criteria that you use to select the people that you bring on your program? Because I say a lot of people are watching here. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, we have a lot of business people that want to put their content out there, and they are doing amazing things. I just want to ask you, what are the criteria that you use to select people that you actually bring on your program and talk about the fantastic thing they are doing?
That's a very great question, Sam. The way I do it is mainly through referrals. Most of the work, most of the people that I've interviewed, I get them from people like you, people who I've interacted with. And once I do a story about them, they send me contacts of other people who say, hey, this person is doing a great job. Maybe he deserves a little bit of airtime. Free airtime. Unlike where you are, you pay for airtime, but here we call it free airtime. We don't charge anybody really to profile them for their stories. So uh, there is no particular criteria that I use to find those people. Sometimes people will approach me and I look at what they have done. I ask them to send me pictures or videos. Then I review those things. Once I figure out that this guy or this lady deserves this kind of platform, sure, I'll call them up and set up a time and do an interview with that person. Sometimes I would go on the continent. I've been to Nigeria several times. I've interviewed a lot of people from Nigeria who are entrepreneurs, who are in politics, who are making, who are in the tech industry, people who are making everyday life, who are making changes in their lives, who are creating employment for people. And this is across the board. I've had an opportunity
Wow.
really to travel across Africa to be able to do that.
Wow. That is amazing. You see, what you're doing is actually a very big work. Because you see, we need to get more people to tell the African story in a way that it could be distributed globally. What do you think we can do in Africa to promote uh, the good story of Africa across the globe? What are the strategy of what are your thoughts about promoting African content across the globe? What do you think? What's your advice of promoting African content? Because you can do it alone. The work is very big. But what are your advice for media people, a lot of people? How can we promote more African content across the globe?
I think what I've observed over the years is that we don't know how to tell our story. I'll use maybe this
Can you hear
analogy.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. As Africans,
Hello?
hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Sam, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? You're frozen. You're frozen. I can't. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, very well. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that
Yes, go ahead.
As Africans,
Yeah,
the
go
honor
ahead. Go ahead.
the onus is on us as Africans really to change the narrative. Uh, Richard Nixon, one of the former presidents, Richard Nixon is a former president of United States. Once upon a time, he said that if you want history to reflect or to remember you, you have to write it yourself. You have to commission somebody to write it either for you or you write it for yourself. And as Africans, I don't think we've done that enough. We let other people tell our stories, yet there are so many stories in Africa that we as Africans uh, are not telling. Take, for example, uh, every time there are so many positive stories that happen in Africa, but even when you open the local newspapers, when you're watching local television, you see negative stories. So I think that mindset has to change. I think as Africans, the onus is on us to tell those stories. We need to figure out a way to amplify those voices, the positive stories that come out of Africa. Because I alone and other people who are in my position can't possibly represent the whole of Africa. We have a lot of talented people in Africa. We have a lot of media houses in Africa. We have a lot of publications that churn out magazines, newspapers every single day. But we are not telling our own stories. You find a major publication in Africa, I will not name a country, their headline is what happened in the United States. The headline is what is happening in the United Kingdom, but they're not talking about what is happening in their own country. So I think that's where the problem is. As Africans, we are not doing a great job trying to tell our story, and that mindset has to change. We have to figure out how to engage the world. We have to tell the world what is beautiful about Africa, what is great about Africa. And if we don't, then the world will write what they think is good about Africa, like they have always done. You see it in Hollywood movies, you see it in the news. I work for a news organization. You see it in the news. The stories that come out of Africa are pretty much negative stories at most, right? But as Africans, I think we can change that narrative. We have the ability, we have the skills. For the first time in our generation, the intellectual balance of power has shifted in our favor. We go to the same schools. You've attended some of the most elite schools here in the United States and gone back to Nigeria to showcase what you learned here. So the intellectual balance of power has shifted in our favor. And that in itself is a positive development for Africa. It should encourage us to tell our stories, because you have a lot of Africans who have come here in the United States, who have gone to Europe, who have gone everywhere to study and taken that knowledge back to Africa. So why are we not telling our stories?
Wow. I think we have to be intentional about our story. We need to focus more on our story. Just like what you said, the headline is carrying something that happened to someone else, but not focusing on our personal story. We also need to be balancing it. There's nowhere that there's no bad or good news. It just requires the way the media is conscious about how they project Africa. We just have to be very intelligent about the way we project Africa. And you see, like sometimes you go somewhere, you hear more of the bad news. Well, like, there's a lot of good news. Maybe the bad news is just 1%. And we have 99% of the good news. And you drop all the good news, and all you want to do is to project the bad news. So we the media in Africa, we have to be conscious, just like what you said. We need to promote ourselves, and it has to be done by ourselves. Nobody's going to do that for us. Because if you don't tell your story good enough, how do you expect somebody else to tell your story better than you. So I think that we ourselves, that we're the forerunner of Africa, need to begin to tell our story and be conscious about the kind of content we need to balance our conscience. We need to balance our content in such a way that it's not showing too much of negative, but it's showing too much of reality. It's also about reality. It's about the fact of figure. And you have to be intentional, not rushing to always want to say the bad story without balancing it with a good story. News have to be balanced. If not, you just let people think Africa is really bad. And we have a lot of good stuff, as my friend have said. He's doing a great job, and we need more people to begin to tell this story. A good one, good one. And what do you see in the role of media, digital media? I see now like for me now, a lot of things I read them online. In order to do, like those days I have to go and buy newspaper, hard copy, all of that. How do you see the role of digital media in media, just like news? Right now, you have some of your products, some of your interviews goes more. I see that they are more on digital platforms. Are you saying that there's going to be a time that there will not be conventional media anymore, or is it going to be an hybrid? Or because I see that right now, like someone like me, I consume more of digital content than even the conventional TV and all of that. So everything, I want to watch CNN or anything, or I listen to them online than even going to their to the physical TV and all of that. What's the role of digital in terms of media? Or where do you see digital media taking media to?
The role, that's a great question, Sam. I don't think this role can be understated. And by that I mean there has never been a time when we are so interconnected than now. So digital media has a significant role to play in uplifting Africa, because a lot of people now, like you said, get their content from social media, let's say Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, whatever it is, right? And some people have used it positively, some people have misused it. But I think social media is, if I was to bet money on social media, I think that's the future. The way we communicate now, this is going to be the future. If you run a print publication in a rural village, maybe you are still okay, but guess what? I have bad news for you. You have to figure out a way of putting content online, because now more younger people are going online. Even older people are going online to find that digital content. So I think digital media can play a significant role, in a sense that if it's used if it's used correctly, I think it can play a significant role to uplift and to amplify voices in Africa. It could give a lot of opportunities to so many young people. People are making money on social media using these platforms. People are selling content using these platforms. So think of it like this. This is the biggest thing that has happened since the printing press, right? Back in the day, if you wanted to publish something, you would first call like a publishing house or look for advertising money. Or if you wanted to do a broadcast like this, you had to go through to hire very expensive studios, satellites to be able to do this. But now, with the magic of the internet, we are able to have these conversations. We are able to broadcast this live. So that's the power of digital media. Anybody who underestimates digital media, they're doing it at their own peril.
Wow. This is really amazing. Quick one. I just want to say something. If you are an African entrepreneur or enterprise that's building something amazing around technology, and you want to put your content out there, you have to get in touch with Paul. Paul is the head of technology Africa in Voice of America. If you need You have someone that's doing amazing stuff, because we need to get more content out there in Africa and globally for people to know what Africans are doing. If you have someone that you know that is doing amazing work out there around technology and doing great stuff, please don't hesitate to drop Paul's detail for them to reach out, because we need more story about Africa. We're tired of wrong narrative. We need the real narrative. We need things that's going to help build African community. We should be proud of ourselves to share our story. Paul, it's a great time. Let me ask you more question. Now, I realize that every digital outlet now, they are on social media and all of that. So if you want to start a media house, okay, I'm fortunate to be part of one media company that's doing amazing thing in Africa. If you want to start a media house and all of that, new people that want to start maybe in that area, or what are the social media channels do you think is very good for news? What are the social media that is very good for news? When you talk about news, distributing news or real time, what are the platforms that you think is amazing for people who want to start similar kind of business or outfit they should start looking at?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Well, I think it depends on your audience, and it depends on how good you are at some of these social media platforms. For example, there are people who do very well on Facebook. There are people who do very well on Twitter. There are people who do very well on WhatsApp. There are people who do very well on Instagram, Snap, all these other things. But it all depends on your audience. What's your target audience? Are you a business person trying to sell some merchandise? Probably you want to put your merchandise on Instagram where people can see pictures and respond. Are you having conversations like this where you are trying to enlighten a lot of people? You are trying to impart knowledge. Maybe LinkedIn is a platform. Maybe Facebook is the platform. Maybe Twitter, because Twitter you can only say so much in very few sentences. So Twitter might not be a great platform for a broadcast like this, because you have to use very short sentences and characters, for you to be able to deliver your message. But a platform like this on LinkedIn, where you can speak for an hour, you have an audience that is engaging you for an hour, I think it's a great place to start.
It's 20 hours.
Facebook is a great place. YouTube, for anybody producing content out there, try it out on some of these platforms. Put it out on YouTube, put it out on Facebook, put it out on Twitter, put it out on LinkedIn, and see what kind of responses you get. So going back to the question that you asked, wow. I think don't limit yourself. For me, I like to operate outside of the box, right? If you put yourself in a box, then you really can't do much. But be open to all possibilities. Open your horizon. Look at because every social media platform is going to bring you different results. So look at it from that perspective.
Wow. Wow, this is really, really amazing. This is really amazing. So guys, thank you so much. I can see a lot of people dropping comments from Nigeria, Africa, Lagos, Abuja, Enugu. So it's good that you guys are stopping by. And Paul, I want to say thank you to you again. I want to ask a question much more, because we need to get it. It's difficult trapping you down, so we need to get the best out of you today.
Sure.
So if you have any startup or funders that want to actually have a global reach, okay, that want to get their brand virtually everywhere as possible globally, what will be your strategy for such a startup? Or your advice for such a startup? You are an expert in media. What would be your strategy to get any startup that's doing amazing work, but they now want to get a global reach in terms of branding and visibility? What will be your advice for such a company?
I think a couple of things. One, you talked about branding. Branding is key in a sense that branding is what they see. Branding becomes your face. You becomes your brand. If you have a product, whatever brand that you give it, that becomes the face of it, right? So if you want your product to go very far, you have to have great or good branding behind it. And secondly, you have to have a great marketing team around. You can't have a product if you don't have good salesmen or saleswomen to sell that product for you. So you want to make sure that you build a team around you that is good at that stuff. Then you also want to make sure that you have the best talent that can take that product from obscurity to prominence. Because at the end of the day, people buy people. If I know that Sam has a great product, there is nothing that stops me from going to Sam to buy that product, right? But and word of mouth in Africa, in the African context, word of mouth is still key. A lot of people communicate verbally. They see you, they say, "Hey, Sam has a great product. Sam is doing this and that." That's still a very good way to, I think, to advertise. But more importantly, don't under don't uh, take advantage of the media platforms, the social media platforms that are out there, because nobody is going to come buy your product or give you money if you're looking for seed funding, whatever it is that you're looking for. If they don't know you, you have to put yourself out there. People have to know what you're all about, what your brand is about, what your product is about, so that they can support you. Because you might have the best idea, the best brand, but nobody knows you. So how are you going to raise money if nobody knows you? So my advice to you would be, take
Wow.
advantage of these social media platforms. Put yourself out there. After all, there is really nothing to lose. Eh, you go out there, be the best that you can be
Wow.
out there. You don't lose anything by putting yourself out there, because that's the only way we are going to find out about you. That's the only way the media people are going to find out about you. And take advantage of build relationships with people in the media. Why? Because any publicity, whether it's this small or this big, guess what? It's good for business. Whether it's small or big, it's good for business. So build relationships with people in the media. If you're a tech savvy person, put your brand, put your product out there on all the social media platforms. And guess what? People will know about what you're doing and what you're all about. Hello?
Wow, there's a question for you here, which we're going to talk about the during question by Henry. Henry, we're going to go to questions very soon, so let's try to round up. So quick one. This is really amazing. There's another thing I want to ask you. You see, honestly speaking, I we having a discussion. Sometimes people were talking about location really matters for African company or anybody that want to set up a company, basically because you have fortunate to have interviewed a lot of people. Do you think location really matters in terms of success when you're starting a business? Do you think location
Absolutely.
really matters?
Absolutely. One of the things that I do on the side is I do real estate. In real estate, it's location, location, location. So that by extension
Hmm.
can apply to any business. If you want to start a company, you have to go to a place where people are going to see you. You have to be visible, to go to a place where people can find you. If you want your business to succeed, you can't hide in the basement and expect people to come and find you. If you're selling merchandise, you want to be, if you're not in the shop, you want to be on the street selling that merchandise. So location matters. I don't know how, I can't underscore that enough. I think location is key for any
I was
business
also
success.
thinking that will you say country matters?
Uh,
I want to talk about something quickly. If you look at some company, like I want to use like Indian companies, a lot of Indian company actually started from India, and they are now a US company, and they are now very big. Okay, and for me, I just want to ask: do you think the location, you can actually be an Indian company and be in US and you are everywhere, okay? But in terms of Africa, what advice will you give companies who are building a global brand in terms of location? Do you advise that an African company should also have their location in the US or Canada or somewhere else or whatever? Or in terms of location, in terms of global perception, how will you advise the young entrepreneur that want to build a big global company in Africa to think in terms of locations? Even though it might not be something they can do now, it's something they can have in their plan on the long run. What's your advice in terms of location in the global space?
I don't think that's a great question, Sam. I don't think a location really matters because we now live in a global village. Everything you can connect with anybody anywhere at any time. So location maybe 10 years ago was a big deal, but today you can be in a remote part of the world and you're able to launch a product and it goes global. Take, for example, we've had products that have come out of Africa that have shot through the roof. Those people didn't need to leave Africa. For example, the people who started Safaricom mobile money payments, they didn't need to leave Africa to come to the West to do their business. You've had some successes in Nigeria. You have a couple technology firms that have gone global that didn't have to leave Nigeria to go to prove themselves. So, and there are a lot of other places, even those companies that you talked about in India, when they started out, they didn't have, they didn't have to leave India to go and do it. They started out in India, then they became big. So, what I'm saying is that really, because we live in a global village, you don't have to worry about that. You let your brand, you let your product speak for itself. If your product is great, if your brand is great, guess what? People are going to come looking for you. I think at the beginning of this talk, we talked about how Nigeria has become, it attracts a lot of these tech giants from the West who are investing heavily in in African talent, right? You have the likes of Google, Facebook, uh, they're all investing heavily in Africa. Why? Because there is talent. It's about branding. We are at a point where we are branding ourselves. We are saying that if you want the best talent in tech, you come to Africa. That's the kind of narrative that we are talking about. That's that's the messaging that the rest of the world is seeing. They used to see wars in Africa, but now these tech giants see talent in Africa. So there's no really need. If they want you, they come for you. If you have a brand that everybody likes, they will come for you. You run a very successful logistics company, started and operated in Nigeria. You didn't have to leave Nigeria to do that in the West, right? So there are so many stories like that. I think that at the end of the day, it's all about your vision. If your vision is so clear, if your vision is about you scaling up and going global, there's no
Yes.
uh, there's no reason why these other companies cannot come looking for you to partner with you, because let's say you pack your things. You also have to look at it from the market perspective, or your audience perspective. Now, let's say you close shop and move to the United States. There are already a million other companies competing with you, but your success was in Nigeria because of that localized market, right? So sometimes it's better that you let things work themselves out naturally, instead of like trying to jump ship and say pack your things and go to India. When you get there, just like I'll give you an example of an immigrant moving to America. No matter how much you know, no matter how much you have, no matter how much money you have in your pockets, when you move to a different country, you start all over. So even for companies, it's the same thing. You cannot like move your company to a different country and expect to have the same results. Absolutely not. You're going to have challenges, but at the end of the day, it's also great to to take on risk. It's those that are willing to take high risks that end up being very, very successful. So if you think that, for example, you have outgrown your market area, your like let's say Nigeria, and you want to expand, go to try out different countries and see. Expand to Ghana, expand to Kenya, and see how things are.
Wow.
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
but it all depends on how.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right. Hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There are a lot of questions for you, and I think we should start taking the question so that we can be within our time. We have Precious, Erin Precious. She's been contributing, and she has some great question here. He said, how do we think we should tell our story in Africa? That is one. She has two questions. Do you think telling our story the way it will be harmful or bring down the country? What she's asking, that do you think it's right for us to tell our story that is in an harmful way to Africa? Do you think we should tell our story that way? So those are the two questions she's asking.
I'm not sure I got the last part of the question. You said, can you repeat the question, please?
Hello?
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please? I didn't hear what you said. Like, can you repeat the question?
She said, how do we tell, how do you think we should tell our story in Africa? How do you think we should tell our story in Africa? That's the first thing she asked. She now asked that, do you think telling our story in an harmful way is media? Yeah.
I think there are several ways to tell your story. One, you can start by doing it yourself, writing a story about what you do, putting it out there, sharing it with your friends on social media. That's number one. Number two is you can commission somebody to tell your story. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people spend, all these multi-million-dollar companies that you see, they spend so much on advertising.
Why, please?
Why? Because they're trying to tell their story. They're trying to they're commissioning somebody, or they're paying somebody to tell their story. So there's nothing wrong with you commissioning somebody to tell your story. Number three, sometimes we don't appreciate what's around us. And I think a lot of Africans, even me, sometimes I miss what's around me. There is so much around me that sometimes I don't see, but it takes somebody else to point it out, right? So the other way for me, like what I've done, for example, when I go to Africa, and it doesn't matter what country I've gone to, when I arrive, when I'm driving around, I see stories that make great human interest stories. So once I see those stories, even when I'm driving on the streets, I focus on that because that's not something that people see are used to seeing. And when I talk about I used to seeing, when you turn on the news, you see so and so, so many people got shot, an accident, what. No, I don't mean those stories. I mean like people selling, people going to the market selling fruits, vegetables. These are people who are putting school fees on the table for their kids. They are putting food on the table for their kids. But nobody is telling that story, right? I've also interacted with CEOs who are doing great things. African presidents, I interviewed so many of them who are doing great things. But we don't see those kinds of stories. So the bottom line is we have to figure out a better way of us as a people to tell our stories, because that's the only way people are going to know about us. That's the only way we are going to stand out. And if you are afraid to tell your story, I'm afraid to say that nobody is going to tell that story about you better than yourself.
Wow, that's amazing. We have another question from Sunday. Okay. So he was asking that, what do you think about Africans starting a business like WhatsApp, Upwork, Fiverr, and for a global market, for a global acceptance? He was just basically asking. I wanted to contribute, then I also want to add to that.
Okay. I got distracted. You said he's asking,
what do you think about Africans starting a company like WhatsApp, Upwork, Fiverr, and with global acceptance?
Well, it's all about the product, because there are so many products that look exactly the same. I think what makes a company go global is the uniqueness. A lot of people try to do things because other people are doing it. And in most cases, it doesn't work. The reason WhatsApp is successful, the reason Facebook is successful, the reason Google is successful, the reason Zero logistics is successful, it's unique, right? It's a unique product. So you have to be authentic when you're thinking about these things. Don't copy and paste just because somebody has done it and you want to use the same thing. I think what makes companies succeed, or what makes companies scale out, become a global brand, it's that uniqueness. Your brand has to be unique. It can't look like what Sam and Paul did. No, you have to have some degree of authenticity, some degree of uniqueness for it to go global.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I'm going to add to that. Thank you so much. You have people from Port Harcourt, people from Lagos. Oh, we have a lot of great guys. They are saying they love what you're doing. They love what you're talking about. They appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you all the way. It's because of who we're here, and we appreciate it. Don't forget, if you have any great guys doing something amazing around the globe, that is African person, maybe in Africa or outside Africa, you can get in touch with Paul. Paul will always is so passionate about telling the African story. So somebody is, I'm going to add to that before we go to the next question. I think for me, you said it all. You have to have uniqueness. I think one of the things that you need to understand that if you're starting a company for Africa, anything, maybe WhatsApp, the uniqueness that you have is that you can adapt it than any other person. Because first of all, you are building it for a particular market. So if you can stay in and that's one thing, if you see a lot of products that work very well in other parts of the country, like for instance, let's talk about China and India. If you look at China, for any successful product that is in China that is owned by another global company, there's a local version of it. The same thing with India. Mm-hmm. For any company that you see that is there, that is global company that is in those communities, there's always a local version of it. And what they try to do, sometimes they use Some people try to use government regulation, which I don't think is the better way to compete. Okay? Some people try to use government regulation. I don't believe in that. I believe in fairness. Let me prove this. Because the more you can allow more people to express themselves and compete fairly, the more you can get the best. Okay? Now, if you can consciously look for the need that the people of the location need, that the global one. See, it's not easy to adapt a global product to everywhere. There will still be some gap. So you need to identify those gaps. That's what TikTok has done in competition with Instagram. See, there's some human behavior. What TikTok has basically done is to study the human behavior. What are those things that you really want to do that you have to do by yourself, and it takes a lot of struggle for you to do, and they bring that part into the model, into what they are doing. And some people begin to enjoy it. They try to study human being. What does human being like? What does the user really like that they don't have access to, or they want to do it with ease and get. So it's all about studying the user, studying the locality. It started from a particular location. Now it's a global company. So the first thing was to capture a very local community, capture effectively by trying to understand what the people really need in that location. Maybe in Kenya, Africa, anywhere. Conquer the country effectively with respect to the global company. I'm telling you that if you go to India, now somebody will tell you that the Indian company is doing better than he has more market than the global market. The same thing in China, because these guys are able to adapt to the local market than the global guys. So when they come from there by winning the local market, then you begin to take it one after the other. Sometimes they take it from the position of creating a lot of variety. That's why sometimes when you look at China product, if they deploy it, it has plenty of function. Even they deploy with too much function that the global company will take them a long time to begin to create all those functions, because they just want to acquire the market somehow. So for me, it's able to identify the uniqueness within your local market and address it in a local way. Okay, meeting those people's need and giving them what they want by studying the behavior of that location. Because there's so many reasons why the behavior in Africa is different from America, UK, and all of this is because the conditions are not the same thing. The system are not the same thing. And there are things that were used and comfortable with it. There are some things that might work effectively in some developed country that might not effectively work very well in Africa. But if you adapt your solution to meet up with the real need of those markets, then you begin to scale in that. And the truth is that you just have to make sure you match up with them in your local way. Make your product very good. In terms of technology, let it be good enough. It doesn't need for you to go and spend all the value. No. But try to create a solution that is addressing the local need. If you can do that effectively, you can begin to take one location to the other location gradually before you realize that you need to go to the global market. By the time you be competing with the global market, like what my friend Paul has said, don't copy. Excuse me. Don't copy anybody. The reason is that when you copy anybody, by the time you get to the global market, there's nothing new you're selling. But when you have your uniqueness from day one, even though you're adapting it from the local market, by the time you get to the global market, they will be different. That's why you see a lot of people are going to TikTok and still going to Instagram. Because when TikTok came, it came with its own uniqueness, and it stick to that and begin to improve on human response. You try to study the way what women want to do and what they like to do and what they like to do, leveraging on their characteristics and build things that fit into them. So they have their uniqueness, even though there are things that are similar, but you can tell that if this is what these people are doing. And that is the way to build a company. And for me, I think until we Africa begin to take this bold step, from the thing about Africa is that it's not everything that is money. Sometimes it's having the right technology team. Because when you're talking about product that is going to be addressing millions of people, you need to have the right technology team that will be able to compete effectively. I can tell you there's still a lot of work that we need to do in Africa in building our technology to a place we can compete effectively. We are doing a lot of great stuff and everything, but we need to get to a point, not just consuming other people's product, but creating some product that can address the African need. That's the way to grow. And after a while, you can have to take over a bigger market. So let me try to get more questions. Everybody's asking.
Before you go to the question, maybe to add to your point, Sam,
okay,
I think you made a great point. In politics, there's something what they call all politics is local, right? By extension, that can apply to all technology, all solutions, all problems. Most problems, in most cases, are local, or they can be countrywide, they can be continental-wide, but you have to localize the solutions for you to be able to scale. Once you succeed at localizing those solutions, let's say whatever product you're working on, if you're coming up with an app and you're trying to solve a problem, you have to localize it first. Once it gains traction, because that traction will gain attitude. So once you gain that attitude, it spreads out like wildfire. So if you succeed at being local first, then there is no question that when you go global, you are going. So you have to think about it locally first. What problem are you trying to solve? Has it succeeded? Now, if it doesn't succeed and you're trying to solve that problem, then maybe it might not succeed on the global stage. So if a problem that you're trying to solve succeeds locally, then the sky is the limit. You can scale up anytime because you already have a model that works for everybody.
Wow, that's amazing, Paul. We have another question that looks very interesting here. Somebody say, what do you think recommend for an African diaspora who wants to come back to Africa to start a startup in Nigeria or any other African country? I think I wanted to take that so that I can also contribute.
Sure, go for it. Go for it.
African diaspora who is in other country, Africa and UK, and all that, I want to come down to start a business. What's your advice? Do you have?
I think I lost you.
With such a person, what advice do you have for that kind of person?
So one, you want to take it first or I go first? Hello, Sam? You want to go first or I go first? So I was going to say that there are a lot of opportunities, and to be honest with you, there is a lot of opportunities in Africa that a lot of people in the diaspora could actually contribute to the betterment of the continent. Every time I was talking about how I go to different countries, I see problems that need solutions. So if you are in the diaspora and you have an idea that you think can solve a problem in Africa, why not? The market is as virgin as it can get. There is potential to make money. A lot of people are making money in Africa.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to take that question. It's very interesting. I want to see if somebody want to start a company, he's not in Nigeria, he's in the US, UK, and all that, Germany, and all of that, and want to come to Africa to start. What advice would you have to such a person?
No, I think there are a lot of opportunities in Africa. I don't see anything stopping you from doing that. If you want to go to Africa to start that company, to solve some problems, create the next big company, why not? There are a lot of opportunities. It's just that those opportunities are not going to come and find you in the diaspora. You have to be on the continent for you to be able to see those opportunities. So if you have a great idea that you think can solve problems, can even generate you a lot of money, make you a rich person, hey, Africa is the place. Because look, take for example, why do you think Google is investing heavily in Africa? Amazon is investing heavily in Africa. Netflix, all these tech giants, Facebook are investing heavily in Africa. Why do you think is that? Because they see opportunity there. So if you are an African, you are in the diaspora, and you want to invest in Africa, take cue from those guys because they have seen something in Africa that could actually make them a ton of money. That's why everybody is now running to take big companies to Africa. So you have to think like those guys. You can't be like, oh, Africa has a lot of no. Where there are problems, that's where you're going to make money. If you come up with solutions that solve those problems, guess what? You are going to be a rich guy. You could become the next Elon Musk if you think in those terms.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. Some people are asking for your handle and all of that. You can DM Paul. You can DM Dor on LinkedIn. He's a LinkedIn lover like me, so you can DM him on LinkedIn and try to see how you can engage him. As long as you're engaging on African narrative, he loves it so much. So for me, I think if you're in diaspora, you want to come to Africa. If you're doing very well, because I think if you want to go to Africa, you want to go and start business, it means that you have some cash, you have made some dollars and all of that, and you want to come to Africa. The first thing I will tell you is that before you start a business in Africa, you need to go to Africa. Don't just go there. Don't try to throw money around. Go to Africa and see. Even if you want to invest, go there and see what is working, what is not working, and what is trying. Try to look at track record of successful business. Try to see the B2B, the B2C. Try to see total operation and all of that, and see the. And I will tell you to start with things that are more simpler to invest in or to start. And I will also advise that you should try to, if you want to start a new company, try to see how you can try their sourcing model. Try to get somebody who have a track record, who have integrity, all of that, to see how you can do your what's it called visibility study. Be sure that this is going to. And start in a smaller way. Don't pull all your money into it at once. Start in a small way. Try to see that this thing can really work in a smaller way. Don't be rushed. Even if you have all the money, don't be tempted to just pour your money like that and put up a structure. This is totally a new solution. Maybe like it's not like any other business. So you might test the water bit by bit and see how you can. That it works that way. Then you can see if you see that you have more strength in where you're coming from. Sorry. You see that you have more strength where you're coming from. You can also start the company from where you're coming from. That's my own advice. Because if you think you have more strength in where you're coming from, you can start there and extend it to Africa. It depends on where you have more strength. And if you think you have more strength in coming to start in Africa, maybe because less competition or maybe easy entrance and all of that, regulation and all of that, you can start in Africa, but take it step by step and try to see what other people are doing that are successful. What area is it? Fintech? Is it logistics? Is it real estate? Try to understand and try to see the track record and see the success. And look at statistics from top companies. What are they saying about the industry? What area are they promoting? What area they say is going to work? And try to run it in a smaller scale first. Don't rush to pull all your money there. If it works, you can scale it up. See that you gain product market fit. You can now begin to pump money into it and see and begin to expand. African is a very, very great market. I can tell you that. We've been in Africa. We've been doing amazing things in Africa. Paul can tell the story. Interview great guys every day in Africa. So I encourage more people to come down to Africa and invest in Africa and try to see how we can create solution that is really solving African problem. We have a lot of things that we need to begin to create technology to solve this problem. Okay, somebody also asked another question.
Great point. Great point.
Find out how do you build your development team? Okay, that's another question I wanted to answer, Paul. You know, you have worked in America and you're working with a great company. So tell us, how do you think you started to be your first to build your development team? Some say Mix of Africa, Mix of Foreign Development Product Team, or just for African Development Product Team. So basically what I'm saying is that how do you build your team when you're starting in Africa? Is it only Africa or Mix of Foreign and all of that? What do you, how do you build a team at early stage? Can you quickly talk about that, Paul? So that we'll move to the next one.
You know,
a lot of questions rolling in and looking very interesting, so good. Paul, can you handle that?
Yes, sure. But you can also weigh in. I think that.
Okay, before we catch up with Paul, if you are building your founder, if you're building, you are an experienced African founder, how do you build your development team? See, development team is something that's very amazing. Okay, if you have experience, what area of experience do you have? Do you have experience in operation? Do you have experience in building the technology? And I always advise you that if your experience is more in the operational side, then you need to get somebody that is also experienced in technology. Even though if you don't have ability to employ them, you can outsource it in a more strategic way. The problem that we actually have most time in Africa is that we thought that building a product, you have to build it like Amazon from the first day. It took hundreds, several years for Amazon to be Amazon, for Google to be Google. You need to build in a smaller way, create a small solution that can solve it. It might even be small technology as low as WordPress. You don't rush to build a complete team where you cannot. It's difficult managing a lot of team at the early stage because how do you pay them? How do you settle them? Are you going to give everybody a stock option and all that? So it's better you start by getting one or two people that can give you, because trust me, anything you're building now will not be what you will use to scale. You don't have enough to build what you really want. You don't have enough. So have that in the back of your mind that anything you are building now is just to navigate to the point where you can have enough money to do what you really want to do. So just try to see how you can use what it could be even be semi-manual. It might not be totally a big technology. Just try to prove that what you're doing is work with a little team. Now, if you want to get a foreign team, if the person would rather, at early stage where you don't have money, if the person would rather be a co-founder, that would be excellent. If you want to outsource, you have to be very, very careful. Because when you are outsourcing cross-border, it might be very expensive. I want you to see how you can do things local with your local team to a point where you have enough money that you can engage more foreign people to help you work. Except you can have a small arrangement with a company that can give you a simple solution that you just pay for it and use it to scale for a while. But sometimes it could be dangerous because sometimes they might keep asking you money that you cannot pay. Initially, they will not tell you all the recurrence fees that will come up. They will just tell you, oh, they will develop it. But next, they will tell you they need this, they need money for this, they need money for that. At the end of the day, you cannot service that relationship. So be careful. I will advise to start with the African team, your local team, and see what you can build, and to be able to get your first set of traction and be able to get an investor and now begin to go for a bigger technology. So you have to be very careful. It's very dicey. Paul, can you add to that before we go to the next question?
Sure. I think Sam makes a greater point because he's lived it, he's done it, and I think if there's anybody who can really add value to that, it's you, Sam. But perhaps I could say that what Sam is saying is very, very important. You need a team. You need to look for a talented team that is going to turn your idea into whatever product you're making. You might have the money, but if you don't have the expertise, the right team, that money is going to go down the drain. So going back to what Sam said, I think it's important for you to make sure that you have the right team and the right expertise. You can't just be everything. You have to have, if you're not good at accounting, you have to have a great accountant. If you're not good at computers, you have to have somebody who is good at computers, so that when something falls on one end, at least you have some backup to fix that problem. Otherwise, you might have $1 million and you put it in a project and you just blow it all because you don't know how to manage or to even make it work. It's not about the money. It's not actually about the money. It's about the idea and having the right mindset, the right team, pretty much the right people to take you from that initial stage to where you scale up and go global.
Wow, that's amazing. Somebody is asking another question that look amazing here. He said, Not every business that works overseas will work here. It's a question. It's asking a question. Is it every business that works overseas that will work here? It's asking. Can you answer that?
Yes, sure. That's a great question. Like I said earlier, everything is local. What works in America might not work in Nigeria. You have to go to those places, like Sam mentioned earlier, do your research, be on the ground, see what is it that you're trying to invest in, what is it that you're trying to do, what is it that you're trying to solve. Because at the end of the day, problems are going to be local. They might be the same, but they're different. They have that uniqueness. So what are you trying to solve? Are you trying to solve something that is so huge that is affecting everybody? But can you apply that even to the smallest unit, the smallest village? Can it work in the smallest village? If you can solve that, then there's no question about it. But what might work in America, because we have different infrastructure issues, right? In Nigeria, you're constantly running out of power. That could be an issue. How do you fix that? How do you prepare for that, right? In America, you might be in a situation where you never run out of power, but then you have issues of payments. Administrative costs are so high. Everything that you do costs you so much so that you can't do it. But in Nigeria, you have cheap labor, blah, blah, blah. But then you also have challenges of like electricity and infrastructure issues. So the most important thing for anybody really who wants to do a startup or do any business in Africa, go and do your research. First and foremost, before you do anything else, talk to people. See if there are people who have done something similar to what you've done. Have they succeeded or have they failed? And if you get those answers right, then there's nothing that can stop you. Hello, Sam.
Wow, that is amazing. That's amazing. Paul, I think we have to stop the question at this point. If you have any further question, please see. You can DM me or DM him, and we'll definitely answer it to our best of knowledge. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for always coming around. Paul, I love what you do. I love your energy. I love your knowledge. I love everything about you. Just keep making African proud. We love you. Thank you so much. It's great to have you, Paul.
Thanks, for the opportunity, Sam. It was a pleasure being on your show, and I kid you not, I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
Okay, guys. Thank you guys for always being here on Essential with Sam. We have a great guy for Voice of America in charge of technology for Africa, and it's an amazing time with him. You can see how much knowledge, how much information in his disposal. I hope you've learned one tooth on Essential with Sam. See you next week on Essential with Sam again. Do have a wonderful day. Goodbye for now. Thank you, guys. See you again.